Good morning, students. Welcome to Zoology webinars of Model School for Senior Inter. Students, we are dealing with human anatomy and physiology. In that, especially, Prasanna ma'am in the previous session, she explained about muscular system and skeletal system, isn't it? So in that process, she clearly explained in detailly about few things like introduction of the muscular system and importance, types, why there is a need of locomotion in humans, isn't it? And also about the types of muscles, properties, and also about the structural of muscle fibril, myofibril, isn't it? And also about the what it is made up of, how the contraction, that is about mechanism also, she clearly explained us. So today, let us learn more about new things in this system. And also, generally in the human anatomy and physiology, we can divide into three parts. That is about anatomy, that is structural level. Next is about the physiology, that is the mechanism and the functioning part. And the third is about the diseases. Okay, so let us learn today. We have with us Prasanna ma'am. She's from Munagala, from Suryapet district. Madam, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, ma'am.
Yes, please continue the session, madam.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, students. In the previous class, we have learned different aspects like just now madam has told you. So nearly about 12 to 10 to 12 things we have learned a lot in the previous session. And our today's discussion points would be mechanism of muscle contraction, muscle fatigue, Cori cycle, and types of muscle fibers. Let's move on. So, I would like to give you a quick recap on the different myofibrils, contractile protein fibrils, which are forming the sarcomere of a muscle fiber. You know that sarcomere is the structural and functional unit of contraction. Sarcomere is present between two Z lines of a myofibril. You all are familiar with this, okay? So Z line is nothing but the zigzag line which is bisecting the thin filaments or actin filaments, or this also helps in firm attachment of actin filaments. So these green color lines you can observe in this slide, these are the thin filaments. And in the middle you can observe the violet color thick colored bands. So they are made up of with a protein called myosin and they are called thick filaments. So thin filaments and thick filaments. These thick filaments are also having a shaded portion at the center, which is called H node or Hansen's node. This Hansen's zone or H zone is bisected by a median line or M line. In other words, or in other sense, we can say to this M line, the thick filaments are firmly attached. The thin and thick filaments are mainly made up of with two major contractile proteins called actin and myosin. So why I am recapping again these two means, as we are going to discuss the mechanism of muscle contraction, you must be familiar with what kind of structures that are involving in uh, contraction of the muscle. So first let us see actin or thin filament. Already I told you this actin filament has two F-actin molecules which have globular proteins like spherical proteins which helically wound around each other, and two filaments of tropomyosin run close to the F filaments or F-actin molecules, and a complex protein here and there. You can see the three subunits of complex protein, that is nothing but troponin. Why we are calling it as complex protein means it is formed by three subunits, TNT subunit, TNI and TNC. Remember children, T and T subunit is nothing but the troponin which is binding with the tropomyosin or which is forming a complex with the tropomyosin. This is the main active site which helps in exposure and masking. TNC subunit is the subunit of actin filament which binds with the calcium ions during muscle contraction. And once contraction is done, whenever muscle wants to relax, that binding of calcium ions to the TNC subunit will be inhibited by the third and important subunit, that is TNI subunit. Okay, so just remember this. Actin filament is made up of with two actin molecules which are helically wound around each other, and they are also having two filaments of tropomyosin and a complex protein called troponin with three subunits, that is TNT, TNC and TNI. TNT is the active site which is exposed during muscle contraction and which leads to conformational changes in the tropomyosin. TNC subunit is a subunit that binds with the calcium ions during muscle contraction. TNI subunit is the one which inhibits contraction of the muscle fiber. Second type of contractile fibrils, nothing but the myosin filaments which are made up of with myosin protein. So as you all know that this myosin is a motor protein converting chemical energy of ATP molecule into mechanical energy. I told you each myosin filament has three parts. One is globular head and the second one is short arm or neck region, and which is extended in the form of a long tail. This short arm or globular head is of two types, which is having meromyosin proteins. So based on the myosin concentration, meromyosin concentration, they are of two types, heavy meromyosin and light meromyosin. The globular head of this myosin filament has two binding sites. You please observe here. Why I am stressing on these binding sites means the head of the myosin, each myosin has two binding sites. One binding site for ATP. This is called ATP binding site. And another binding site is which is forming, which helps in formation of the cross bridge. Cross bridge means the binding site which binds to the tropomyosin. Okay, two binding sites are present on the head of myosin filament. One is actin binding site and second one is the ATP binding site. So this is actin binding site which binds to the actin, and then the ATP binding site which binds to the ATP molecule that helps in provision of energy during dragging of the thin filaments over the thick filaments. So this is the organized form of the thick and thin filaments. You can see here just the head of the myosin molecule. With the help of the flexible head, it is forming a certain angle, and these myosin heads are uh, organized at equidistant position. Each head has two binding sites. Just now I told you one binding site helps in binding with the ATP molecule, and second binding site helps in attachment of the exposed active sites present on the actin filament. So again I would like to talk about triad system. So why all these revisions means, if you have a small idea on these structures, you can easily understand the muscular contraction mechanism. So triad system, already I told you, it is formed by three parts or three structures. One is the invagination of the sarcolemma is forming a T-tubule. This T-tubule along with the two terminal cisternae of sarcoplasmic reticulum together form a triad. Triad means which is formed by three structures. One is T-tubule and two terminal cisternae. Why these structures are organized very closely like this? What is the reason behind this? Yes. So as a nerve impulse or action potential is reaching the sarcolemma, that action potential passes through the T tubule. Once the action potential passes through the T tubule, the calcium ions are, or the action potential is passed or spread over the endoplasmic reticulum or sarcoplasmic reticulum of the muscle fiber. Immediately, the activated sarcoplasmic reticulum releases calcium ions during muscular contraction. So, what is action potential? Why it is called action potential? We'll discuss in the next slide. So this is motor unit. So motor unit is also called neuromuscular junction or motor end plate. So the motor neurons which are innervated to the skeletal muscle fiber are having nerve endings or terminal endings, which we call them as synaptic nodes or boutons. Okay. So these synaptic nodes are having secretory vesicles which secrete certain neurotransmitters. So whenever a nerve impulse is transmitted to the muscle fiber through the motor nerve endings, the secretory vesicles get activated and they release a neurotransmitter which activates or which changes the potentiality of the sarcolemma, and that action potential slowly passes to the sarcoplasmic reticulum of the skeletal muscle fibril, and which in turn release calcium ion. So the junction between, there is a narrow gap between the motor neuron ending and the sarcolemma. This narrow gap or narrow space, we call it as synapse. Okay, or this is also called neuromuscular junction or motor end plate. Yeah. So we'll move on to the original discussion point now. All our body movements, such as walking and running, here you can observe in these two images. So all our body movements, such as walking and running, are possible due to the presence of what? Due to the presence of muscles inside our body. So these muscles or muscular system along with the skeletal system helps in doing all these activities, not only walking and running, the other activities like jumping, swimming, talking, swallowing, etc. all are because of the presence of muscles inside the body. And you are familiar with the myofibril. Just now I discussed with you the myofibril is the simplest unit of muscle that contains contractile proteins like actin and myosin. So let's talk about the mechanism of muscle contraction. The mechanism of muscle contraction was explained by a special theory called sliding filament theory. Students, please uh, do more concentrate on this topic. This is important for your 8 marks question. Okay, mechanism of muscle contraction is best explained by the sliding filament theory, and this was proposed by Jean Hansen and Huff Huxley. Who proposed sliding filament theory? Jean Hansen and Huff Huxley, and this is a worldwide accepted theory. The sliding filament theory is the most accepted theory and which best explained by sliding filament hypothesis. And this theory states that the contraction of a muscle fiber takes by the sliding of thin filaments over or in between the thick filaments. You see here in this image, these green color fibers are the thin filaments and violet ones are the thick filaments. So this is a hypothetical theory. Hypothetical means which are proposed by imagination, but it is a worldwide accepted theory, so as it is having genuine explanation. These green color fibers are thin filaments which are sliding over the thick filaments. So already we discussed Z lines. Between two Z lines, the portion of the muscle fibril is called sarcomere. An AI junction, Z line is present in AI junction in certain vertebrates, and it is present at Z line at certain vertebrates. Already we discussed in the previous class. Yeah, let's move on. Let us understand the steps that were given in the theory, that is sliding filament theory. So what are the steps that are involved during contraction of a muscle? Number one is excitation of muscle. Second is formation of cross bridge. Third, power stroke. Four, recovery stroke. And five, relaxation of muscle. I'll repeat again. The different steps that are involved during the contraction of muscle are excitation of muscle, formation of cross bridge, power stroke, recovery stroke, and relaxation of muscle. So this is the first and foremost step during muscle contraction, that is excitation of muscle. Already I told you muscles are having three fundamental properties. One is excitability, second contractibility, and third one is relaxation. The same things are repeated during muscle contraction. Excitability is also called irritability. What is meant by irritability or excitability? It is nothing but the capability of a muscle fiber to receive action potentials that are generated from the nervous system. As a walking, running, talking, eating, all these are involved under the self-conscious control of the human being. It is ensuring that excitation of muscle is purely under the control of central nervous system. That central nervous system is sending information to the muscles through motor neurons rather than sensory neurons. I hope you have an idea between the difference between the sensory neuron and the motor neuron. Sensory neurons always carry information from receptors to the central nervous system, whereas the central nervous system processes that information. Again, it sends the information back to the effectors. We have two effectors in our body, muscles and glands. So the nerves which are carrying the information from central nervous system to the muscles are called motor neurons. Okay, so during excitation of muscle, let's talk about this excitation of muscle. This is the process of muscle contraction begins by a signal. The process of muscle contraction begins by a signal from the central nervous system, that is CNS. The signal is brought by the motor neurons from the central nervous system. These motor neurons are connected to the muscle fibers. So see here, this is a motor neuron which is connected to the muscle fiber, and it has small endings, swollen portions at the terminal endings of the neuron. They are nothing but the boutons or synaptic nodes. So these neurons are connected to the muscle fibers. The motor neuron with which the muscle fiber connects is called motor unit. Please remember this, student. The junction or the place of the muscle where motor neuron connects to the muscle fiber is called motor unit. The junction between the motor neuron and the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber is called the neuromuscular junction. It is a narrow gap, nearly about 200 angstroms in narrowness. This is a narrow space or gap present between neuron and the sarcolemma. Please remember, no two neurons never attach directly to the surface of any cell. They maintain a gap, a microscopic gap between any tissue or between two neurons or between muscles and the neurons. There will be a narrow space. That space we call it as neuromuscular junction or the motor end plates. In simple, we can say it is a synapse. Okay. Into this neuromuscular junction, whenever the central nervous system is sending information to the muscle fibers through the motor neurons, the activated neurons are carrying impulse in the form of action potential. Once the action potential enters the synaptic knobs or neuron terminals, the secretory vesicles get activated. So when the signals from central nervous system are transported in the form of electrical impulses, nothing but action potentials, a neural signal on reaching the neuromuscular junction releases a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter means the chemical which is transmitting the information from neuron to the successive cells or fibers. Between two neurons and between neuron and the muscle, there is a messenger or a transmitter which is transmitting information from one cell to the other cell, between neurons to the muscle. That chemical we call it as neurotransmitter. So from where the neurotransmitter is secreted, as I told you, there are certain secretory vesicles present in the nerve terminals. Whenever the electrical impulse or action potential reaches the nerve terminals, these secretory vesicles are activated and immediately they are moving towards the end portion or the membrane, the plasma membrane of the neuron terminals, and immediately they release a chemical into the gap that we call it as neuromuscular junction, and that chemical is called neurotransmitter. So what is the name of that neurotransmitter? ACH. It is represented as ACH. ACH means acetylcholine. So acetylcholine is released and binding to the receptors that are present on the membranes of the sarcolemma of muscle fiber, and finally the neurotransmitter initiates the opening of the sodium ion channels leading to action potential in sarcolemma, leading to spreading of action potential into the sarcolemma. So now the sarcolemma, once it is receiving the action potential by the activation of sodium ion channels, now the sarcolemma is called excited membrane, and the process is called excitability. Okay. So once the action potential is reaching the sarcolemma, immediately through the T tubule, just now I told you, you must have an idea of triad system. Triad system is formed by one T tubule and two terminal system. So through which the action potential is passing into the sarcoplasm of the muscle fiber. Through the T tubule of sarcolemma, the action potential is reaching towards the terminal cisternae of the endoplasmic reticulum. Immediately the endoplasmic reticulum, terminal cisternae of endoplasmic reticulum, after receiving the action potential, they get activated and they release a huge number of calcium ions into the sarcoplasm. So what is the fate of this calcium ion which is released from the terminal cisternae? Already I told you, actin filament or thin filament is having a complex protein with 3 subunits, isn't it? So what are those 3 subunits? TNC, TNT and TNI. So TNC subunit is nothing but subunit of troponin protein or troponin, which binds to the calcium ions. So now the fate of the released calcium ions from the terminal cisternae is nothing but They have to reach their destination, that is, they have to bind the TNC subunit of troponin, which initiates further conformational changes in the actin filament. Okay, so this is the first step during muscle contraction, that is excitation of muscle contraction, excitation of muscle. So I'll explain in simple. When the impulse or stimulus is passed through the motor neuron to the muscle fiber, skeletal muscle fiber, the action potential reaches the neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction is nothing but the gap or space present between motor neuron and the sarcolemma of a muscle fiber. So due to the action potential, the secretory vesicles of the motor neuron terminals, they get activate and release a chemical into the neuromuscular junction, and that chemical is called neurotransmitter, which is nothing but the acetylcholine. So that acetylcholine transmits information from synapse into the sarcolemma. The action potential is transported by opening of sodium ion channels. So once the sodium ion channels are opened, the action potential spreads into the sarcolemma, and which is passing through the T tubule into the sarcoplasm. And once the T tubule is transmitting this action potential, the terminal cisternae of the triad system get activated, and immediately they start releasing huge number of calcium ions into the sarcoplasm. These calcium ions, they will go and bind to the TNC subunit of troponin of thin filament. Clear? Okay. So here in this slide you can observe remaining four stages of muscle contraction. Just now we discussed excitation of muscle, and second one is formation of cross bridge. Third one is power stroke. Fourth is recovery stroke, and last one is relaxation of muscle. During formation of cross bridge, just now I told you the calcium ions. What is the fate of calcium ions over here? They are going and binding to the TNC subunit of troponin. So once the action potential spreads through the muscle fiber and causes the release of calcium ions into the sarcoplasm from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, this sarcoplasmic reticulum in turn releases calcium ions. The increased level of calcium ions leads to the binding of calcium ion to the TNC subunit of troponin on the actin filament. This interaction between calcium and TNC subunit of troponin triggers a conformational change. Conformational change, nothing but structural change. It triggers a conformational change in the tropomyosin. Where is the tropomyosin, students? Can you find it? These green color ball like structures are nothing but the F filament or actin filament. On the actin filament, the brown colored lines you can observe, these filaments, we call it as tropomyosin. Arranged at regular equidistant, there is a complex protein called troponin. So TNC subunit, when it is binding with the calcium ion, in which filament the conformational changes are occurring, in F filament or in troponin or tropomyosin? Yes, conformational changes occur in the tropomyosin filament. Why? Because until and unless the calcium ions are binding to the TNC subunit, the tropomyosin will cover or mask the active sites that are present on the actin filament. So what is the main objective of covering the active sites? If active sites are exposed immediately, the myosin heads immediately they bind to the active site. They have two binding sites, isn't it? Actin binding site and ATP binding site. Actin binding site is present on the F filament of the actin. So unless and until the calcium ions are binding to the TNC subunit, the tropomyosin will cover the active site of actin filament. But now what is happening? The calcium ions have already released and they reach their destination and finally attach it to the T and C subunit of troponin. So immediately the tropomyosin will move aside. From where it is moving aside, it is unmasking or uncovering the active sites that have been covered earlier by the tropomyosin. So that movement, slight movement of tropomyosin, which is unmasking the active sites, we call it as conformational change or structural change. Clear? So once the conformational changes occur in the tropomyosin, it is preventing the masking of active sites for myosin present on the actin. Fine. And now the active sites have been exposed due to conformational changes or due to moving aside of the tropomyosin filaments. Once active sites are exposed, immediately the myosin head with its active site binding, that is actin binding site, the head start moving towards the actin filament and binds. There is a process occurring between the myosin head and the exposed active site of the actin filament. Now the myosin head slowly it lifts up the neck, which is flexible. It helps in lifting up of the head, and finally immediately the myosin goes and binds with the active site with its actin binding site. And here there is a bridge is formed between actin and myosin. Okay, between active site of actin filament and myosin, there is a bridge formed which we call it as cross bridge. So for the formation of cross bridge, it is not a passive process. Formation of cross bridge is an active process. Do you have an idea of what is active process? Active process is always the process which utilizes energy in the form of ATP. That's why I told you head of myosin has two binding sites. One is actin binding site and another one is ATP binding site. So for the formation of cross bridge, the ATP binding site immediately binds with the ATP molecule which is getting hydrolyzed to ADP and inorganic phosphate and is releasing energy, provides energy for the formation of cross bridge. Next, third step is power stroke. I hope you understood well regarding this formation of cross bridge. Cross bridge is always formed between exposed active site of actin filament and the actin binding site of myosin head. For the formation of this cross bridge, energy is provided in the form of what? ATP. So once cross bridge is formed, now the myosin filaments are ready to drag the thin filaments over thick filament. So here you can observe in this image, the head of the myosin has bent slightly, which is dragging the thin filaments over the thick filament. So this is nothing but the sliding of thin filaments over thick filament. Okay. So as it is utilizing energy by hydrolyzing ATP, which is releasing ADP, and inorganic phosphate is released. This process of energy utilizing is called power stroke. Is this clear, students? The next is recovery stroke. So as it recovery means which is detaching, the cross bridge will be broken down. So again, once it is utilizing one ATP as one inorganic phosphate is released, now this ADP again it is transforming into ATP for providing energy to drag another or to attach to the another active site of the thin filament. So that's why once the power stroke is done, immediately as inorganic phosphate is released and ADP is formed from ATP, the myosin head detaches from the exposed active site because to attach to the next exposed active site, this myosin head is detaching. Again, it is taking ATP for the attachment of myosin head to the next active site, exposed active site. So this detachment of cross bridge, we call it as recovery stroke. So once the contraction is completely done, contraction of the muscle is completely done and the work is done, now the muscles want to relax. The entire procedure will be occurring in reverse order. So what is the entire process? Again, we have to talk from the neuromuscular junction, action potential which is transmitted from the neuromuscular junction from here. So as the action potential is passing through the motor neuron and it is reaching the sarcoplasm again through the T tubule. The action potential reaches the terminal cisternae, calcium ions are released and which binds to the TNC subunit of actin, again cross bridge formation, then utilization of ATP and releasing of inorganic phosphate and detachment of the myosin head. So all these processes will again in reverse. So once the myosin head gets detached, once the contraction is done, immediately the calcium ions will detach from the TNC subunit of actin in reverse order. Okay. So in the previous, before muscle contraction is occurring, the calcium ions are binding to the TNC subunit. But once contraction is over, immediately the calcium ions will detach from the TNC subunit and eventually the tropomyosin immediately it will regain its original shape and mask the active sites or it covers the active sites. So once the active sites are covered, there is no exposure of the active site for the attachment of the myosin. So as the tropomyosin covers the active site, these calcium ions which is released into the sarcoplasm will be absorbed by the terminal cisternae of endoplasmic reticulum. Because already I told you endoplasmic reticulum or sarcoplasmic reticulum of the muscle is a storehouse of calcium ions. This is the relaxation of muscle. So as the ATP is again hydrolyzed by the ATPase found on the myosin head in the cycle of the cross bridge formation and breakage is repeated causing further sliding. The cross bridge cycling sequence continues to repeat till the muscle fiber is excited by the signal from the CNS. As the signal stops, as action potential stops from the central nervous system, no further release of calcium ions from the sarcoplasmic reticulum occurs, and which enables the pumping back of calcium ions from the sarcoplasm back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum. This pumping back of calcium ions results in the masking of active sites on the active filaments. This in turn causes the return of Z lines back to their original position. That we call it as relaxation of muscle. I hope you understood this well. So just let's have a look over a video which is clearly showing you how excitation of muscle takes place. So you can observe here the brain is triggering an action potential which travels down the somatic motor neuron and it is reaching the motor end plate. So this motor end plate between the sarcolemma is having a narrow gap called neuromuscular junction. As the vesicles are activated, acetylcholine is released into the cleft or synapse or neuromuscular junction which activates the sodium gated channels. As the sodium gated channels are opened, the action potential is reaching to the sarcolemma. So as the sarcolemma is receiving the action potential, it passes throughout the length of the muscle fiber through T tubule and finally reaching the terminal cisternae. The terminal cisternae of endoplasmic reticulum release calcium ions. So look at here how the myosin heads are beautifully binding and detaching. Okay, so that is excitation of muscle. Next, let's see sliding filament model of muscle contraction. So this is about the muscle, entire muscle, which is made up of a bundle of skeletal muscle fibers. Each bundle we call it as fascicle. Each muscle fiber bundle has numerous muscle fibers or cells, which are made up of with two protein filaments called myofibrils. So this is the structural and functional unit of the myofibril, which is called sarcomere. You can observe here clearly this blue color line is indicating the zigzag line or Z line. Okay, these red color lines are nothing but the actin filaments or thin filaments, and yellow color lines you can see here, and they have green color heads, globular heads, are nothing but the myosin filaments. This portion at the center of the thick filament is called H zone, which is bisected by M line. So where is the sarcomere? Sarcomere is extending between two Z lines. So what is the final result of muscle contraction? Please remember students, after muscle contraction, the Z lines or the size of the thin filaments decreases, because as the thin filaments are moving closer towards the M line, as the thin filaments are slide over the thick filaments or they are dragged over the thick filaments, the size of the I band decreases, but size of A band remains as it is. Remember, once contraction is done, size of I band decreases, but size of A band remains as it is. A band is nothing but this yellow color line portion, myosin thick filament portion will remain as it is. Thin filament size, this A band will be decreasing. So you can observe slowly how the thin filaments are beautifully sliding over the thick filaments. Here the cross bridge formation is taking place between myosin head and actin filaments. So as the Z lines or as the actin filaments are sliding over the myosin filament, this I band size decreased from here to here. You can see the difference. But A band remained as it is. So this action shortens the muscle fiber, which shortens the muscle, pulling bones for movement. So here these pink color filaments are the tropomyosin, and these are the binding sites. What binding sites? Calcium binding sites. Okay, so tropomyosin is masking these binding sites which are making the cross bridge with the myosin head. These are the myosin heads, these ash color ones, which is having ATP binding site and one more actin binding site. These brown color globular proteinaceous filaments are nothing but the actin binding sites, which have yellow color structures called active sites. So these active sites were covered by the tropomyosin unless and until calcium ions binds and attaches to the TNC subunit of the troponin. So once TNC subunit is binded with the calcium ions, immediately the tropomyosin moves away from the active sites and the myosin head binds with the exposed active site. Let's see what is happening here. So calcium ions now attach to the TNC subunit. Immediately the active sites are exposed and heads of myosin attaches to the active site, forming cross bridge by taking ATP as the energy source. So the cross bridge formation and breaking occurs simultaneously as the ATP is hydrolyzed to release inorganic phosphate, and this is we call it as power stroke. So you can observe clearly how the muscle is undergoing contraction and how the shortening of I band is taking place. Always the thin filaments are moving towards the H node or M line. The size of I band decreases but not the A band. Size of A band remains as it is. Okay, so this is about mechanism of muscle contraction, which is explained by sliding filament theory by Huff Huxley and Jim Hansen. Next is muscle fatigue. Okay, dear students, have you ever heard the term muscle fatigue? Muscle fatigue, in simple, we can call it is nothing but tiredness of muscle. Do you ever feel a kind of pain in your muscles after fast exercise, after vigorous exercises or jogging or any weightlifting? Did you ever feel such kind of pain in your muscles? Or when you carry heavy loads, after some time your muscle cannot able to contract properly. So that pain which we get in the muscle is called muscle fatigue. So this muscle fatigue occurs when a person is doing vigorous exercises or any jogging, running or jumping, etc. What is the reason for this muscle fatigue? What is happening exactly? Why we are getting such pain? So ever wondered why we feel all stiff the day after doing lots of exercises? In order for you to contract your muscles, they need the energy that is released in respiration. So from where our muscles are getting energy? By a process called respiration. So the respiration is a process which provides energy. How come it is providing energy? We are taking food materials with the help of the digestive system. So digestive system helps in providing energy. Of course, digestive system helps in conversion of complex food molecules into simpler and absorbable forms. But those simple and absorbable forms like glucose, amino acids, and fatty acids will not be taken by the cells as it is. They need another form of energy requirements from the digested particles. So that energy requirement by the cells is nothing but ATP, adenosine triphosphate. How this ATP is formed? When we respire, the oxygen present in the inhaled air reaches each and every cell. So inside the cell we have special factories for the synthesis of ATP. They are nothing but the mitochondria, which are called powerhouses of the cells. When oxygen is entering into the cytoplasm and along with the digested food material, now the glucose is undergoing cyclical changes, a cyclical process called glycolysis. So once glycolysis is finished, the ATP is synthesized by electron transport mechanism by the mitochondria. This ATP is continuously supplied to the cells for their metabolic activities. But here, as the person is doing exercise vigorously, the muscles undergo rapid contractions and relaxations. Due to rapid contraction and relaxations, our respiratory system is not providing oxygen as that much fast as the muscle fibers are undergoing contractions and relaxations. So what is happening here in this cartoon? You can easily understood that these muscles of these two persons who are doing exercise are required. They want more or they demand for more ATP for the contraction and relaxation of muscle. So see, the mitochondria, we need more ATP. The muscle fibers are asking like this. But what mitochondria is saying? No, there is not enough oxygen. I can't supply oxygen to you. So, like that, this mitochondria is saying, what is the reason? Because as the muscles are undergoing contractions and relaxation, instead of glucose is converting, pyruvate is converting into ATP, that pyruvate converts into a chemical substance which is pretty dangerous inside the blood, which alters the pH of the blood, that is called lactic acid. So, about this lactic acid, you have studied in your lower sections also, in your lower classes. So, accumulation of lactic acid in the muscle leads to pain, that we call it as muscle fatigue or tiredness of the muscle. So, after some time, when we give a deep breathe or when we take a rest for some period, this will be restored. The lactic acid will be restored again. The glucose and ATP will be normally supplied to the muscles and the pain will be relieved. Clear? This is about muscle fatigue. Muscle fatigue is nothing but tiredness of muscle, which, which is due to accumulation of a chemical called lactic acid, which is formed by anaerobic glycolysis. Remember, the students, that lactic acid is formed in the blood due to anaerobic glycolysis, where pyruvate is converting into lactate, and that lactate or lactic acid is causing lactic acidosis. That's why our body cannot be able to build up much lactic acid within the blood circulation, because it is pretty dangerous, and that leads to altering of the pH of the blood finally, which is a lethal condition that leads to death of the person. So there is a beautiful mechanism to restore this lactic acid, which is formed due to anaerobic glycolysis. Is this clear? Muscle fatigue, it is nothing but tiredness of muscle due to accumulation of lactic acid in the muscles. Let's move on. So, just now I told you we have a mechanism inside the body where lactic acid is slowly converting into glucose. What is the history behind that? Who discovered such kind of cyclical changes between lactic acid and glucose? So, from where the lactic acid going from muscle? From the muscles, the lactic acid is reached to the liver, where it is undergoing a processing and finally converting lactic acid into glucose for further utilization by the cells. But the cyclical changes from lactic acid to glucose and glucose to glycogen, from lactic acid to glucose, that is from muscle to liver, all these cyclical changes have been discovered by Corey couple. So these two were the pioneers who discovered a cycle called Cori cycle. Cori cycle also we can say. This is Cori couple who discovered this cycle. They are Carl Fernand Cori and Getty Cori. This Cori cycle is also known as the lactic acid cycle. So why this is called Cori cycle? It is named after its discoverers Ferdinand Cori and Getty Cori. And this is a metabolic pathway. Cori cycle is a metabolic pathway in which lactate produced by anaerobic glycolysis in muscles is transported to the liver and converted to glucose, which then returns to the muscles and is cyclically metabolized back to lactate. Clear? Very important, students, for 4 marks as well as for 2 marks. So let's see how the Cori cycle is going on. See, you assume that this pink one is the muscle tissue and this purple box is the liver. So what is happening here? The glucose which is entered into the tissue or muscle, this glucose is undergoing glycolysis in the presence of oxygen. So as it is converting into pyruvate, this pyruvate has to convert into ATP by Krebs cycle and also by undergoing electron transport pathway. But here in this case, what is happening? The pyruvate is ultimately converting into lactate because there is no way of conversion of pyruvate into ATP because there is no sufficient supply of oxygen. So reduced supply of oxygen due to vigorous contractions and relaxation of the muscle results in hypoxic condition of the muscles. So due to less supply of oxygen, this pyruvate it transforms its way glycolytic way from aerobic to anaerobic glycolysis, and finally pyruvate is converting into two lactate molecules or lactic acid, okay, by anaerobic glycolysis. So this lactic acid is transported through blood circulation to the liver, where the liver is undergoing a process called gluconeogenesis. What is genesis? Synthesis. What is glucose? How the glucose is synthesizing here? Neo means new. The glucose is synthesized from the non-carbohydrate substance or from the new compound. New compound is nothing but lactate. So once the lactic acid enter into the liver undergoes gluconeogenesis and finally it is undergoing aerobic glycolysis. Again, pyruvate is converting into glucose molecule. You can see here as in the muscle tissue when glucose is undergoing anaerobic glycolysis, only two ATP molecules are released. Very less amount of energy is supplied to the muscles during anaerobic respiration. Whereas during aerobic glycolysis, the number of ATP molecules have been increased, which are supplying more energy to the cells. So this glucose, which is synthesized in the liver by gluconeogenesis, is again transported to the cells or tissues wherever necessary. Okay. If glucose is not required by the muscles or any other cells, this glucose again is converting into glycogen in the liver because liver is a storehouse. It is a reservoir of excess storage of the excess food material. Our excess food material is stored in the form of glycogen. If glucose is not required by the cells, that is again converting back into glycogen by the liver and it stores for further usage. So what is the significance of this Cori cycle? So just now I told you lactic acidosis is pretty dangerous process wherein the lactic acid is altering the pH of the blood, which is a fatal condition or lethal condition. So the main advantage, this Cori cycle is really protecting our body from being danger or being harmful by the formation of lactic acid. So this Cori cycle prevents lactic acidosis in the muscles, and also the energy is produced in the muscles during activity in low oxygen levels. Shall I move on? I hope you understood this Cori cycle. This is very important. Cori cycle was discovered by Cori couple. Next, classification of skeletal muscles based on myoglobin content. What is myoglobin? Is there any classification of the skeletal muscles? Yes, of course. Our muscles look reddish and some muscles are looking whitish. That is because of there is a respiratory pigment in the muscles. That respiratory pigment we call it as myoglobin, which is similar to that of the hemoglobin present in the RBCs, red blood cells. Okay, the hemoglobin present in the muscle is called myoglobin, which is a respiratory pigment or which help in providing energy for the contraction of the muscles. Based on the myoglobin content, skeletal muscle fibers are classified into two types. Red muscles, they are also called slow twitch muscles or muscle fibers, white muscles and fast twitch muscle fibers. Whenever action potential is generated by the central nervous system and which is transported through the motor neurons to the neuromuscular junction of skeletal muscle fibers. Not all skeletal muscle fibers receive the action potential, and not all skeletal muscle fibers contract and relax at equal rates. Some muscle fibers they contract properly and some do not. That is because of the presence of amount of myoglobin. Based on that, we call them as red muscles and white muscles. So red muscles, name itself indicate they have a much amount of myoglobin, whereas myoglobin is less in white muscle. Let's see the differences between red muscles and white muscles. So red muscles or slow twitch muscle fibers are the muscles which contain more red fibers and they are responsible for a long time contraction. High content myoglobin and cytochrome is also present. So what is the content of myoglobin? High content. Here in this image you can see how the red myoglobin is spread. And more number of mitochondria. More number of mitochondria present in red muscles, and they have rich blood supply. They undergo slow and continuous contractions and relax slowly and don't suffer from fatigue easily. As they have more number of mitochondria and rich supply of blood and more amount of myoglobin, they undergo contractions very slowly and relax slowly, and they do not suffer from fatigue easily. If you observe the diameter of the red muscle fibers, they have smaller diameter. Examples for red muscle fibers are neck extensors. So from the skull to the ribs region, we have bundle of muscle fibers which we call extensor muscles, which maintain posture or anti-gravity muscles. Here, so this is about red muscles. And second type of muscles, white muscle fibers or fast twitch muscles, and they're quite antagonistic to the red muscles. They have low content of myoglobin and cytochrome. They have few mitochondria and they have poor blood supply. They undergo rapid contractions and relax rapidly and also suffer from fatigue easily. They are large in diameter. Okay, the diameter of the white muscle fibers is large when compared to the red muscle fibers, and mostly these white muscle fiber, best example for white muscle fiber is the muscle bands of the eyeballs, nothing but extraocular muscles. This is the difference between white muscle fibers and red muscle fibers. Okay, students, I hope till now we have enjoyed the session and learned a lot. So today what you have learned, mechanism of muscle contraction, muscle fatigue, Cori cycle, and types of muscle fibers. Okay, let's see the important questions from this entire topic, that is muscular system in human beings. First question, what is triad system? I told it is important for 2 marks, very, very important. Distinguish between red muscle and white muscle. Describe the structure of skeletal muscle for 4 marks. Draw a neat label diagram of ultrastructure of muscle fiber. Draw the diagram of sarcomere of skeletal muscle showing different region. It is clearly given in your textbook, student. Please practice the diagrams. And what is Cori cycle? Explain the process. Here is a mistake. What did Cori cycle? Explain the process and explain the mechanism of muscle contraction. This is important for 8 marks. And thank you, students. Thank you for patient listening. And I wish you all the best for your exams.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Uh, Students, The ma'am has clearly completed the muscular system. So from your part, what you have to do is complete the notes as I tell in all the webinars, which you all are maintaining for your zoology webinars. Complete the notes. As ma'am also insisted at the last moment, draw the diagrams, practice the diagrams until you know the diagrams and correct do it the labeling part, then only you can write the answer. You can, like with the flow, you can write the answer. Okay, as ma'am told, the exams are coming up, like you have to focus on that. And please revisit the channel if you are not able to follow the flow. Again and again you can revisit and complete the notes and prepare for your exams. Okay, thank you madam, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.